If you have a cell phone, please turn it off or set it to stun. If you're like my parents, you have a cell phone and you don't even know it's on. Okay. Baruch Dayan Ha'amet, we praise the Judge of Truth. Begin with Psalm 121. Esai enai el haharim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yitein lamot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yeminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka v'yarech b'layla. Adonai yishmarcha mikol ra yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmar tzedka v'oecha me'ata v'ad olam. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord is your guardian. He is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul. Your going and your coming, now and forever. Death has taken our beloved Barbara Etkin. Friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Barb's love that united so many people in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that was shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind which brought joy and brought happiness and now are a precious remembrance. For all of these things and more, we give our thanks to God. It is a time of profound grief. And we listen once again to the voice of our sacred scriptures from Tehillim, from Sefer Tehillim, from the book of Psalms. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator, in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Together in the English, let us recite the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It is a privilege to call forward family friend Harvey to come forward and speak a few words about Barb.
You can take the lady out of New York, but you could never take the New York out of Barbara. She was an individual, second to none. The first time I ever saw Barbara, or met Barbara, she was wearing heels. Always wore the highest possible heels she could even walk on. Donnie was always standing there waiting, and eventually, unfortunately, and she hated it with a passion when she had to put the heels away. Oh, she did not like that at all. She had a heart of gold, sometimes a little brash, but she had a heart of gold. She was always perfectly groomed, beautifully dressed. she was an individual second to none. Barbara, Donald, Linda and I had so many wonderful vacations together. Cruises, then in Florida. And Donald would talk to everybody. Everybody. He loved to talk to people. Barbara would sit there very quietly. And then every so often, she would ask a question. But that question was so insightful, my jaw would drop just listening to the question. On our cruises, we've been to so many different islands. In fact, we'd forgotten which ones we'd been to many times. Barbara, on occasion would say, I don't think I'm going to get off the boat. Linda would say, but I think they've got purses and jewelry on this island, good ones. Barbara would stand up and say, what are we waiting for? That was it, we were off. Then there would be the jewelry store. Donald and I would be standing outside. Linda and Barbara would be inside. We'd be looking at ourselves, and not just for a few minutes. We're talking a lot of hours. Standing outside jewelry stores, purse stores, what have you. Occasionally they would ask us, do you like this? Only occasionally. Donald and I would say, well, how much is it? And they would say, what does it matter? Because then they're going to start negotiating. That poor salesman, they would portray him a cop like you've never seen. They would negotiate, and between Linda and Barbara. Then, after the cruise, we're in Boca. Not for the sun, not to have lunch, not to relax, not to go by the sea. Flea market. Everybody that knows the festival flea market in Boca. I would drop them off at 10, pick them up at closing. And not just once, not just twice, but sometimes 3. And on occasions, I had to go back on the way to the airport. I went back to the hotel and did the laundry. Linda and I will never be able to go on a cruise again without missing you. To say we're all going to miss you is a gross understatement. I love you, my girlfriend. Thank you.
To those words, let us together. What is your name? Michael. I understood what you said. I was I was just told one person's just talking. I apologize. Okay, well. Amen. So we gather this morning on a cold December morning to pay our respects to the memory of our dear Barbara Etkin. Her Yiddish name was Basha. It's windy and it's cold, and it will be cold and bitterly cold in the cemetery. The wind whips through a person on a day like today like the loss of a dear friend. Her death comes at the relatively young age of 70. And even in the shadow of your loss, and in response to the sad components of some of Barbette's life, we should give a smile. You gave a reason for a smile. You gave a reason for a smile. She's no longer in emotional or psychic or physical pain. She's now at peace. Many of you remember her license plate, Barbette, and she loved to be called that. Yesterday afternoon, as the family sat and we spoke about Barb, Don, Scott, Lisa, and cousin Ricky spoke of her years as a bookkeeper and her knitting. And I was moved by parallels in an upcoming Torah portion next month. We begin the book of Exodus, and at the very beginning of Exodus, you find the theme of women with their hands nourishing others and saving lives. A few examples. First, the Pharaoh issued a decree to the Hebrew midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, that when you are helping a Hebrew woman give birth, if you see it's a girl, let it live. If you see it's a boy, you kill it. But the Hebrew midwives defied Pharaoh's edict, and with their hands they saved those lives, not killed those babies. Secondly, the birth of Moses. His mother Yocheved and his older sister Miriam, with their hands, not only delivered that baby and raised him for a few months and then put him in the basket, cast him into the Nile River, with their hands they saved that boy. And third, Pharaoh's daughter brought in that basket and raised that boy to be a leader. Pharaoh's daughter's name is not given in the Torah, but in the Midrash, the Midrash gives her a name. Her name is Batya. Batya means daughter of God. Barb's Yiddish name is Basha. Basha in Hebrew is Batya, daughter of God. She has the same name as Pharaoh's daughter. Now, those were tough, spirited, determined women. And the same can be said of your dear Barbara. She loved you, but she was rough on you. She was born April 19th, 1946 in Queens, someplace in New York. She went to Jamaica High School. Her Uncle Stanley and her Aunt Bernice raised her. It was not an idyllic childhood. It was difficult in many, many respects. Thank God for her aunt and her uncle. After high school, her father brought her to Cleveland, and he came to work at Harry Weinraub's. Barb was good with numbers. She was a bookkeeper for many, many years. Don and Barb met at a dance at the JCC. Don said it was love at first sight. He didn't mention anything about the automobile. Love at first sight. He said, we dated for about a year. Then Rabbi Milton Rube officiated at the ceremony. Don said, I saw Rabbi Rube at the Schwitz, and I asked him if he would officiate at the ceremony. And he said, yes, but we have to finish up before the football game. So the wedding day was the day the Cleveland Browns played. We thought it was the Minnesota Vikings, but now we know. I looked it up on the internet. That's what you got to do. It was they played the New York Giants, and they lost. A Browns loss. What do you want? It was December 21st, 1969. They lost 27-14. But, we live in hope. Barb and Don started out quite modestly. Donnie supported his mom, his sister, his grandmother. His father had passed away at the very early age of 52, and so Donnie was the father of the man of the house. Barbara pushed Don to take a better job and then open up his own business. and they opened Atkins Scrap Iron and Metal in 1972. She was the bookkeeper there. Don and Scott and Matt worked there. Barbara and Don were married, so this is 46 plus years, and blessed with a couple of sons and a couple of grandsons. Their son Scott, his wife Lisa, grandsons Dylan and Tyler, and their son Matt, of blessed memory, who died of a drug overdose in 2003 at the young age of 26. And when Matt died, a part of Barb died as well. And only some of you here have experienced that horror. It was entirely out of order. One is supposed to bury one's parents, not bury a child or a 26-year-old sibling. Scott said, yeah, my mom was a good housewife. She kept the house neat and clean, and she used to cook. And then one day, Dad said, you don't have to bother cooking anymore. So she stopped cooking, and we started eating out. Mom and Dad loved to travel. As you know, they went on these cruises, went to Florida, went to Europe. She loved taking the Disney cruise with the grandsons. She liked Donald Duck, probably because she's married to Donnie. That's what the boys said. Not only did she love to knit, Donnie said she loved ballroom dancing. And then QVC, as you mentioned, shopping. The company is going to miss Barb. And although they may even continue to send packages, I mean, it just because she was one of those people that helped keep them in business. Over the years, Barb volunteered at the American Heart Association. She was involved in Hadassah. She was an active member of the Mayfield Heights Fraternal Order of Police Lodge. And she gave of her time and her soul when she spoke to groups about losing a son to drug abuse. She was a big sports fan. The Indians, the Browns, and the Cavaliers. She was thrilled, as so many of us were, when the Cavaliers brought home an NBA World Championship. Ironically, Scott said we were having a party at our house for the first game of the playoffs, the first game of the championship series with Golden State, and that was the day on June 2nd that Mom received the news from the doctor that she had cancer. So it has been a very difficult several months. Barb did not smile very often, and this is not a criticism. Not at all. This is just an objective statement. She didn't smile all that often. But she did smile when the Cavaliers won the championship, Scott said. And in her last day, she smiled when she told Scott she knew she was in hospice and she was looking forward to seeing Matt again. When Scott asked, have you seen Matt? Barb responded saying something like, yes, he finally stopped by. And that was the last coherent day. And the next day she breathed her last on Wednesday. And so now there's no more pain or deterioration. There's just rest and wholeness and peace, and her soul is returning to God and to be with the souls of her dear ones, her son, her friends, the ancestors of our people. We learn this in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. And one day all of us will join the souls of our dear ones in Olam Haba. Olam Haba is the world to come. It's not a place, it's a spiritual existence. A cemetery is a place, but Olam Haba is a spiritual existence, and Judaism believes and hopes that God takes care of the souls of all of our souls, the souls of our loved ones. So you will be together again in a spiritual existence. The family has allowed us to send along some old, well-prayed-from prayer books. We sent along a few old children's Haggadot and a little consecration Torah that someone had given to the temple. So those are going along with her. Because just as we bury respectfully the body of a loved one, so too we send along, with respect, holy books of our tradition. You have many, many memories of Barbara. We have many, many memories. And so we give thanks to God for this gift of life. 70 years. It is not as long as we would have hoped, but at the same time, as her health continued to fail, we didn't want her to suffer. So as you think of her, consider doing some knitting. It's something that not many people do anymore. Knit, watch some QVC. Don't buy anything, just watch. And root on our sports teams, get involved in your FOP, Fraternal Order of Police. Be kinder and more thoughtful to others. And let us do these things in her loving memory. And so we conclude with words from the first chapter of the book of Job. Adonai Natan, v'Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Amen. Hoseh Shalom bimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom aleinu, Ve'al kol Yisrael, Ve'imru Yimru Amen. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu, Ve'al kol Yisrael, Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu, Ve'al kol Yisrael. May God, who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, cause peace to rain down upon us, upon all Israel, and upon the soul of our dearly departed Barbara Etkin. Amen. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of Barb Etkin, for you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, are with us, a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity. Please rise for El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hametzem Nucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim U'Tohorim, Kezohar Haraki Amazirim, Et Nishmat Basha, Shahalachal Olama, Baal Harachamim, Yastireha B'Seitek Kenafav Le'olamim, Vayitzror B'Sror HaChaim, Et Nishmata, Adonai hu nachalata, v'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava, v'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our dear Barbara Etkin, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. In a moment, we will go in procession to Mount Olive Cemetery. If you are not going with us because of the weather, we'll be at Lander Haven in about an hour and 15 minutes from now, and we'll recite Kaddish and Motzi there for the mourner's meal. Family will be at Lander Haven until 7 o'clock tonight. If you wish to make contributions in Barb's loving memory, the American Cancer Society is the first place among others as well, but the American Cancer Society. We'll recite Kaddish for Barb every Friday night for the next month at our temple, Temple Israel Ner Tamid, on Leander Road. Services are Friday night at 7:30. And we'll recite Kaddish for her whether any family members are in attendance or not. She'll be on the Kaddish list to other synagogues as well. This concludes as we pause for procession to the cemetery.